So Raw, did you watch Raw?
Yes, I did.
So Ray comes out with his LWO shirt. And he said Judgment Day are selfish idiots for using his son. And said he would. Then Dom comes out, and Dom said he would have beat him at WrestleMania had it not been for Bad Bunny interfering. And Dom said his music in his ears when Bad Bunny was put through a table by Priest last week. And Ray said Dom and the rest of Judgment Day would regret putting their hands on Bad Bunny because he spoke to him and said Bad Bunny said he'll be back. Ray asked Dom when he was going to man up and fight on his own. Ray called for Dom to face him in a WrestleMania rematch on the spot. And Dom said he couldn't fight his own father, but he knew who would fight Ray instead, and Finn comes out. So then we go to a match between Finn and Dom, and this led to or Finn and Ray, and they went like there's a long match, and then they go at the end where Dom interfered on the apron and hit Ray with a chain, and then Balor gave him the coup de grace for the win. So,
what was funny is that the very first line that Dom did, he flubbed it.
Right.
And I read somewhere that they said he never recuperated. I thought he did.
Right.
Again, I hate to be redundant. Great Heat, because I love Great Heat being a heel for so long. Finn Balor and Ray, they're both great wrestlers and expected a way better match. This was not bad, but I expected way better from them, especially the time given. I love the finish with Dom and the chain.
Well, I heard, it's my understanding that the Balor was hurt going into this with the stitches in the calf. He's got a hurt calf, too, supposedly.
Okay, that's probably it. Yeah.
So, they're interviewing the Alpha Academy, and Otis is dressed up like a model, kind of. He's got like glasses on and everything. So Maxine
I wouldn't call that a model, but he had his shirt open.
Right. Maxine Dupree comes in. And that caused Chad Gable and her to start arguing with each other. So then they hear commotion, and around the corner, Lita's down selling an injury. And Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez stood by, and then Becky Lynch and Trish and Adam Pearce showed up. They called for a doctor.
Now, I think it would be funnier if instead of just putting him in glasses and she just had like a white button-down shirt on that was open. That was it. If they put him in like modeling clothes, like tiger pants and Gucci, and just, he'd look really out of place. That's
right.
Just...
So next, so then they do the thing where Becky Lynch and Trish and Pierce showed up, and they call for a doctor. Okay, so then backstage you go to Byron Saxon, and they come back from commercial, and they're interviewing Becky Lynch and asked for an update on Lita. And Lynch said Lita was in a local medical facility, and she had her suspicions about who did it, and said she would slap their head off once she found out. And Lynch said she was going to go give it a load and give the people a title match, but someone had a good idea. Then Trish comes in the picture with Adam Pearce, and Trish is going to take her place. So then they go to the match, and it's pretty decent long match, like 15 minutes, and they lose the titles. Okay. So after the match, a new champion celebrated head of the stage while Trish sat dejected in the ring, and Lynch pulled her up and raised her hand and hugged her and everything. But when she turned her back on her, Trish nailed her from behind and turned heel. And she put her down with a chick kick and stood over Lynch and spoke to her before leaving the ring. What'd you think of this?
I just thought, like you said, this was a decent match, way too long.
Right.
Okay. And, Stratus is not the champion. Lita is.
Right.
But anyways, they did a good job. They tagged that. They did a good job together. She didn't look as rusty as before, which was to be expected, especially after all the time she's been out. As usual, they always do the same thing they did with Aaliyah and Liv Morgan and some other girl that was her partner. Rodriguez always gets the hot tag so she could just, overpower everybody. After I thought at the end you could kind of see the heel turn coming. To me, it was not a big surprise. I'll tell you why. Because Lynch wasn't really selling that they lost a match, and Stratus was. Right. And I was like, uh-oh, she's going to turn on her. And then they had the camera on. I just could feel it. I don't know if you could. Could you?
Well, I heard it was spoiled earlier in the day. Supposedly.
Oh, okay.
It's been rumored for a while, too.
Right.
I hadn't heard those rumors, so it wasn't for me. I just thought you could see it coming. Yeah.
So Paul Heyman was interviewed by Kathy Kelly, and she asked brought up about him dodging the question about whether Brock Lesnar had anything to do with the Cody Rhodes attack. Then Heyman mocked her and shifted the focus to Kevin Owens having a problem because Matt Riddle and Sami Zayn were not present. And Heyman claimed they both had to take a later flight to avoid facing Solo Sikoa. Then Heyman said Owens wasn't bright enough to do the same, so he's coming in with 0 allies, even fewer friends. And Heyman said he, Sikoa, and the Usos were in the build, and he questioned what kind of people would take advantage of Owens in his vulnerable state and follow the tribal chief's orders to solve the KO problem. We the ones, Heyman said.
Let me tell you, twice, Paulie, once on SmackDown, once on Raw, he's dodged a Brock question. So there may be something there. He may be letting little breadcrumbs. Because I don't know why would he duck it twice if he wasn't going to do something, if it didn't mean something.
Right. So next is Byron Saxon was trying to ask Trish Stratus why she turned on Lynch, and she just walked away without acknowledging her. So then our girls Damage Control are standing outside Adam Pearce's office, and Bayley emerged from the office and she spoke with Pearce by giving him a tag title shot. And Bayley claimed that Pearce only wanted to talk about the WWE draft, so she made sure he knows that they need to stick together. Then Bayley said Pearce put her in a triple threat with Piper, Niven, and Mitchin, with the winner earning a title match against Bianca Belair. And Bayley said that once she wins the title, has more leverage, she can go to talk to Pearce again. And Sky interrupted by saying no and then spoke in Japanese. And Kai said she assumed the Sky was asking what about them, and Bayley said she would talk to Pearce again. So this is not interesting to me.
Not at all.
We do Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed. Pretty decent big man match, and it ended up with a double count out. And the fight continued after the match, with Lashley getting the better of it when the referees and producers showed up and pulled them apart. And Lashley got a couple cheap shots in on Reed, and Reed kind of looks like he's blown up a little bit out there. But this is all right. What'd you think?
Yeah, this was a lot like the first match, very physical and logical.
Right.
There was a part where Lashley. I'm not a big fan of the name the Almighty, but anyways, Lashley was trying to get him up for suplex and he couldn't, and Reed countered it. Then when he finally suplexed him, the place popped. He went for the hurt lock, but he was kind of too big for him to really apply it on properly. All those little things I liked, and then they ended up getting counted outside, which is good for their first match. Right.
So next is Cody comes out and is basically trying to figure out what happened with Brock Lesnar. Said someone requested that someone tell him why Lesnar did what he did. He said he heard on SmackDown that Lesnar was unhappy with the spot on WrestleMania. Cody said in a series that Lesnar was uncertain about things he's bringing to WWE and how will that affect him. Then Rhodes questioned why he'd ever be uncertain. The guy's won championships and everything. And then Cody played up the question of whether he's afraid of Lesnar and said, I'd be crazy not to be scared of Brock Lesnar, but I still want to fight him. He said, leave no stone unturned and no opportunity left behind so that when Lesnar's prey rather than a predator becomes the victim. Cody said they could fight anytime, any place, but knew Lesnar was not there, and Cody challenged Lesnar to backlash and said, answer the call. I thought this was a really good promo.
It was, and I like the fact I'm not a real big fan of baby faces putting over the heels, because he said he was afraid of, Brock Lesnar, but he still wanted to fight him. But he did it in a way that it was really good. This was really good. This Cody's been on fire with his promos,
Yeah. So they do the Usos against the Alpha Academy. It's a long match, 13 minutes, and they didn't really do much with the maximum male models.
No, I was disappointed because I liked that.
Yeah, I thought they'd keep that going here, but of course the Usos went over, so not much to talk about here. Because there was no angles with it. It was just a win for the Usos. So
it was a good match.
Right. So they do Io Sky versus Piper Niven versus Mitchin in a triple threat, and Io Sky goes over. I fast forward. I don't care about this.
Okay, now you didn't see the match at all?
No.
Because remember some guy wrote in and goes, oh, you're hating on Io Sky. She's the best wrestler in the world.
Right.
She's very good. She's not the best. I'm sorry.
Right. So backstage, Kevin Owens was interviewed by Baron Saxon.
And let me just say one more thing. Bro, poor Minchkin or Mia Yim, whatever.
Mitchin.
Mitchin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mitchin gets zero reaction, bro, and she's a baby face.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, why would she get a reaction? They haven't done anything.
Right. They don't do with it. Right.
Right. So they interviewed Kevin Owens before the match, and basically he says he'll let the emotions get better of him, so it's hard to tell him he had to beat the hell out of Solo for what he did to him on SmackDown. And Owens said maybe he shouldn't have taken the fight while Sami Zayn and Riddle weren't there, but he's KO, and it sure reads, let's just keep fighting. So they do Kevin Owens versus Solo. So they go near the finish. Owens wanted to go up top, but Jimmy stopped him while Jay distracted the referee, and Owens up taking both the Usos out and hit a swanton for a near fall. Then Owens hit a pop-up powerbomb and sold the knee afterwards and went for a stunner, but Sikoa pushed him off, and Jay hit Owens with a shot from the floor while Jimmy distracted the ref, and Solo hit the Samoan spike and pinned him. After the match, he put the boots to him. Then Matt Ziddle and Zayn were shown running backstage, and they come in the ring, and they hit the ring, and the baby faces stand tall after the show. They cleared the ring. So they're obviously setting up for a six-man. So I don't know. This is...
Is that why?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I'm assuming that. So
yeah, this was a really good match, and all those Samoans can work. Owens can work. Zayn can work. So the matches are always good. That's not a surprise.
Right.
Like I said, again, I'm not a big fan of Riddle being inserted into this, but if it's a 6-man, that's probably why. Sikoa is really agile for his size.
Right. No, he's a good athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he played football like his brother, like his cousin. And it's kind of funny because Sikoa is always mad dogging his brothers. He's like their younger brother.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of funny that they never checked him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, though. Yeah, but that's been our Raw review.
Enjoy the rest of the show. Boom.